Now to politics and the CBS News New York Times poll that shows the president in much better shape when it comes to getting reelected. In November, the president's job approval ratings was at 43%, tying his all-time low. Well, today it's at 50%. The reason for the rise seems obvious. In our poll, the number of Americans who say the economy is getting better has risen from 18% in November to 34% now. Joining us to analyze these numbers is Scott Conroy, political reporter for Real Clear Politics. Thanks for being with us, Scott.
Great to be here. All
right, our numbers show with this recent rise, the president now leads each of the Republican candidates in November election matchups, with independents shifting towards Mr. Obama. Now, is this due to the economy or because of shifting opinions of the Republican candidates?
I think it's mostly has to do with the economy. I mean, look, we cover this presidential race on a day-to-day basis, and we cover everything that happens, but we have to remember that in the end the economy is likely what's going to decide this race, and for that reason a lot of this is out of these guys' hands. I mean, look, the stock market is doing better. People notice that. The unemployment level is going down. People feel that. They see it on TV every day. But let's keep in mind, again, that, the election is several months away from now. We're going to have many, many twists and turns coming up over the next few months. And it's just, there's been so many cases throughout history, modern U.S. political history, of incumbent presidents who have looked unbeatable at this stage in the game, or have looked that they have very little chance, and that changes in the bat of an eye. And I think in this current media cycle, we're going to see that to even greater extent.
Well, another hot topic has been contraception coverage, and our poll shows the public sides with President Obama on federally mandated contraception coverage for religiously affiliated employers. 61% support the rule, and as you can see, Catholics support the federal mandate about the same rate as all Americans. So has this turned into a toxic issue for Republicans to hold on to?
Well, it's certainly been something that someone like Rick Santorum has been able to use to his advantage in the context of trying to woo a lot of these socially conservative Republican voters and sort of become the de facto social conservative candidate. But I think, yes, in the long run, is this a dangerous issue for whoever becomes a Republican nominee? Absolutely. When you talk about, suburban independent voters, that electorate that anyone who wants to become president must win in November, issues like contraception are not something that Republican candidates really want to have as a focus right now. They want to be talking about President Obama, making this a referendum on him, making the case that he has not been an effective leader on the economy, making the case that the economic turnaround has been too slow. And I think issues like this in the end are just a distraction for whoever ends up carrying the Republican banner into November.
Well, Scott, our poll also shows Rick Santorum has edged ahead of Mitt Romney, 30% to 27%. So what caused this jump in his numbers?
It is amazing, isn't it? I mean, who would have thought 2 weeks ago, let alone 2 months ago or 2 years ago, that Rick Santorum would be leading the Republican field? I mean, even after his victory in Iowa, it seemed like he didn't have very many places to go. But this has just been such a crazy race with so many twists and turns that you never know what's around the corner. I think Santorum, with his 3 victories last week, just really shot up to the front, and that's what did it for him. This is all about momentum. It's all about perceptions. But I think, as Romney's super PAC comes alive here, this outside group that's been raising a ton of money and basically destroying anyone in his path in previous states, they're starting to launch ads against Rick Santorum in states like Arizona, Michigan, Ohio, which votes on Super Tuesday. It's going to be difficult for Santorum to keep this advantage that he has now. We've seen this movie before with Rick Perry, with Newt Gingrich, 2 candidates that had previously had big surges against Romney, and the super PAC and the Romney campaign comes in and launches a negative ad blitz, and it really does bring them down a notch. Now the question is, can Romney make the case for himself? We've seen all of these alternatives to Romney step up and become the main challenger to his candidacy, and Romney still, even though he's a national frontrunner, clearly has not won over a majority of Republican voters. So Michigan is really going to be a do-or-die test, I think, in this race.
Yeah, we're going to be watching that closely. In the meantime, though, Congress reached a tentative agreement on renewing the payroll tax cut on Tuesday. So is this a sign Republicans and Democrats are finally working together, or did Republicans cave just to get the issue off the table this election cycle?
I think most people are seeing it as the Republicans caving. I think the Democrats, President Obama basically is getting what he wanted when this debate began at the beginning. And of course, that's a big turnaround from a lot of what we saw in these congressional fights between the president and Republicans over the last couple years of the administration. And again, I think this is a sign that the president has some of the political winds at his back, at least for the time being.
All right, Scott Conroy with Real Clear Politics. Thanks so much for your insight. We appreciate it.
All right, no problem.